everyone, welcome back. Tina here. Today I am finally getting to do the Q&A video that I've been promising for a while. I was hoping when I requested questions from you guys that I would get, like a good dozen or so questions. I got more questions than I even know what to do with. I'm not going to be able to answer all of those questions, and I've decided to kind of break these videos up. There's probably going to be a Q&A part 1 for work, a Q&A part 2 for work, and then I'm even going to make a Q&A that's like personal, because I did get a variety of work-related questions and a variety of personal questions, and instead of trying to mash all those up into 1 or 2 videos, I'm just going to spread them out so this way I can really take the time to answer the questions that you guys asked of me. And so also I tried to find questions that were getting repeated over and over and over, or just, similar in nature, just reworded. So with that, let's go ahead and get started. And my first question is from Kerr Brewer, and her question was, what are you required to include in your lesson plans, and when do I usually do my lesson planning? My district is actually pretty lenient as far as what you have to put in your written lesson plans. You have to have your objective or your learning target. Then you have to have your strategy of how are you actually going to achieve your learning target. You have to have your assessment. How are you going to assess what you just taught the students, what the students just did? And the assessments can be an exit slip, it can be observation, it can be anecdotal records, it can be any kind of assessment. It could even be just something that's informal. An informal assessment is basically you're just watching the class and seeing how they react to the lesson. And the last thing we have to put in there is the Common Core Standard, or the GLIC, because right now there's still no Common Core yet for social studies. So for that we're required to write the Michigan GLICs, which is their standards for social studies, what should be taught at that time. Same for science. We still have GLICs for social studies and science, Common Core for writing, language, reading, and grammar. Okay, and then as for when do I write my lesson plans, sometimes I can get my lesson plans written when I'm in the classroom, either on a prep period or in the morning before school actually begins. I like to go to work about an hour early, so this way I have just this extra quiet time in my room to do whatever it is I need to do. But I will say the bulk of my lesson plan writing does get done at home. It's easier for me to do those at home in the evening when I'm watching TV or something. I'll do them during commercial breaks. And then sometimes I'll even, if I want to do long-term planning, or if I really want to develop like a thematic unit for a week or two, I will even spend a Saturday or a Sunday sitting down and really focusing on how I'm going to tie all the subjects together. Okay. Katie Dance 321 asked the question, how do I grade papers and how many students do I have? I have a variety of ways for grading papers. One of the good old-fashioned ways is just doing percentages. There were 24 questions and you got 2 wrong, which is this percent, this is your grade. Some questions, so some assignments, that doesn't really work. If you only have 5 questions at the end of a social studies chapter, or on an exit slip you want to give the students to make sure they were paying attention, well, if you only have 5 questions on an exit slip that's you're using for your quick assessment, 1 wrong is a B, 2 wrong is a D, 3 or more is an E. That's really harsh percentages. So a lot of times I might take an exit slip and say that 1 wrong is a B, 2 wrong is a C, 3 wrong is a D, and then the rest would be an E. So, you adjust it to meet the needs of you and your assessing. You adjust it to meet the needs of your class. And so there is a little play in how I grade things. When it comes to actually entering the grades into the computer system, we do have to enter percentages. So if I'm telling the student that, oh, you had 5 questions on this exit slip and you got 1 wrong, it's a B. When it comes time to put it into the computer, I'll just put down that this child got an 80%. If they got a C, they got a 70%. Right? And then how many students do I have? I traditionally have 30 students. However, because we're a school of choice and because we have limited budgets in my district, there are times when we will have 31, 32 students. At the beginning of this past school year, I initially had 36, which I will be honest, that is way too many bodies in one room at a time. But luckily they opened up a 4 or 5 split and some of the children moved into the split classroom and I dropped down to 30. Most of this year I was at 30 students. Okay, the next question is from JLH136 and she asked, what organizational systems do I have in the classroom to keep up with paperwork? And when it comes to all the paperwork, I will say grade as fast as you can. I mean, if you give the test at 10 o'clock and you go on lunch at 11:40, grade 10 of those tests on your lunch break. I'm very serious. Later that afternoon, if they're doing, 10 minutes of independent work on something, grade 5 more. This way when you go home that night, you only have to grade like 15 of them and you can knock them out pretty quickly. Honestly, speed. I have no idea who just shut a door. That was creepy. Apparently my house may be haunted. Or it was a wind. Hopefully it was just the wind. Speed is my best friend when it comes to staying on top of paperwork, because the worst thing you can do is let a week go by or 2 weeks go by and suddenly you have a stack of papers this thick that need to be graded, because that is going to eat up an entire Saturday to get that done. It just is. So that is my biggest form of organization, is just to get it done quickly. And then as far as the other paperwork goes, writing RTIs for intervention students, writing out your IEP stuff, writing out forms for interventions used with kids, parent contact logs. My big strategy there is my life planner. You guys, if you've watched my previous videos, you know that my lesson plan is in front of me, and right above my lesson plan is my life planner. They're like laid out together on my surface. And if I know that by this Friday I have to do an online survey to put in my input on a professional development workshop we just had, I will literally write it in my planner. I don't have time to do it now, but by Friday, this online survey is due. At the end of the month, I have to turn in my attendance logs. So I literally put that in my life planner that, I'll make a note on like the 27th. Don't forget that on the 30th, you have to turn this in. So honestly, if you don't have time to do the paperwork, at the moment you realize you need to do it, put it in your planner, because there's so many things going on that if you don't write it in your planner, you're going to forget to do it. And the next thing you know, the secretaries or your principal is sending you emails or coming to hunt you down saying, hello, well, where is this form? So planners, and get it done quickly. Shu123 asked me, do you take work home with you? What kind of paperwork besides planning and grading do you have? And as I've already said, yes, I do take paperwork home with me. I do grade at home. I do lesson planning at home. If I can get it done at work, fabulous. But a lot of times things happen that you can't get it all done at work. So something's going to go home with you. And at that situation, when I first come home from work, I have dinner to cook, laundry to do, want to spend some time with my boys, help my boys with their homework, spend some time with my husband. So things like paper grading and lesson planning don't really happen until probably after 8 p.m. And a lot of times what I'll do is I have this little table that fits on my bed. I'll just set myself up here in the bed with my tray table and my books and my pens and my stickers and my TVs over here, and I will grade or lesson plan while I'm watching a show on the History Channel or something, because I just multitask and do more than one thing at a time. And then as far as Other paperwork, there's a lot of paperwork that is involved in teaching that has nothing to do with their assignments. If you have children who are struggling, you have to write out what is called a referral for intervention team meeting. These packets require a ton of information from the teacher, and you have to record all their testing data, so you have to fill out all those forms if you're referring a child for further interventions. If you have a behavior plan on a student, you have that paperwork to keep track of and to collect and store it in file folders. You have your DRE2 test or whatever form of testing you're doing. You've got to store those tests, and I then take all of the finished grades and put them on one sheet of paper in my Pensive, so this way I know what level all of my students are reading on. So there's a lot of paperwork involved in teaching, there really is, and I've already been told that as we're about to adopt the Success for All reading program that we're about to be bombarded with even more paperwork that I have not yet even seen. Okay. ADL 2014 asked the questions. Any tips for student teachers to help us have a successful experience? For student teachers, my advice to you is 1, be prepared to work your butt off, because not only are you student teaching to learn your own teaching skills, but you want to view your student teaching as a time to network. You are meeting principals, you are meeting potential co-workers, you are feeling out the district just as the district is feeling out you. And I know a lot of schools require you to have like more than one student teaching. There's like your pre-student teaching and then your formal student teaching. Do that in 2 different school districts just so that you get your name out there. Next, arrive early, stay late. You want them to see you, that you're there, you're available. If they're having an after-school program, be prepared to stay at the after-school program. If they're having a curriculum meeting, go to the curriculum meeting. This is your opportunity to learn about every aspect of being a teacher, not just what you have to do in the classroom. Also, the teacher in the classroom is literally your one-on-one resource. If you have questions, ask that classroom teacher what to do, what would they do in your place. Also, your lesson planning, you're probably going to have a much more detailed lesson plan as a student teacher than you will as a permanent teacher. My lesson plans are written for me. They're specific to me. If my principal walks in and reads my lesson plans, will he understand them? Sure. But is he going to have the full understanding of the lesson plans as I will? No. But if you're a student teacher, a principal needs to be able to walk in, read those lesson plans, and know exactly what you're doing. So for a student teacher, an Erin Condren teacher planner probably would not work for you. You're not going to have enough room in the boxes to write in all those extra details. I would actually recommend making like a template on a computer and using like font 8 or 9 where you can get in the vocabulary being used and what manipulatives are going to be used during this lesson plan and what specific homework is going into this lesson plan. Your plan's going to be very detail oriented. Okay? And with that, if you have any other questions about student teaching, you can ask them and maybe I'll get to those in the next Q&A video. But at the moment, that's kind of all that's coming to me. Be nice, be professional, dress appropriately, work your butt off. Definitely. Casey2844, Casey, love your name, asked the question, could you give an overview of your classroom management system and do you use a particular program? We had in the district PBS, which was called Positive Behavior Support. I loved that program. And there was basically 3 general rules. Be safe, be responsible, be respectful. And those 3 rules encompass a lot of behavior. Keeping your hands and feet to yourself is part of be safe. Completing your homework and turning it in on time is part of being responsible. Raising your hand and using a polite voice in class is part of being respectful. So as long as you have the rules, be safe, be respectful, be responsible on your rule list, you're covered for a lot of behaviors that you're going to come into, or that you're going to deal with in the course of a day. So that's my rules right there. Those 4, perfect. And then my school, after having PBS for several years, they dropped it and brought in restorative practices. And they're very different programs. PBS is about positive behavior support. It's about bribery. Let's call it for what it is. You know, if the kid's good for a week, they get a little trinket. If the kid's good for a month, they got to be part of like a celebration party at the end of the month. We had these little charts that were stamped to keep track of behavior. We had flip charts for it, and it was a rewards-based program. And we all love rewards. We really do. You know, think about grown-ups. You do a job because they give you a paycheck at the end of a week or two. You know, I love teaching, but if I didn't get paid to do it, I probably wouldn't do it, because at the end of the day, you have obligations you have to meet that require finances. So the world works on a rewards-based system. When we switch to restorative practices is not an extrinsic program. It is an intrinsic program. You know, you're going to be good because you feel good when you're good. You're going to resolve your issues because you will feel good once you resolve your issues. And I will be totally honest, I did not like restorative practices anywhere near as much as I liked PBS. In fact, most of my coworkers did not embrace RP as much as we did the PBS. And so a lot of us were still doing PBS on the down low. We still had our charts in our classroom, our flip charts, but we just relabeled them as our restorative practices behavior charts, and instead of having a PBS party, we were having an RP party. But luckily, my district this year is actually bringing back PBS, and now the name has been changed. It's called Positive Behavior Intervention Support, so it's now PBIS. And I think they might have changed that just because of the TV station, perhaps, I'm not sure. But so a lot of us are rejoicing that PBS is coming back to the building. They're already making the posters that go up in all the hallways about being safe, responsible, respectful. They're buying us our treasure boxes and the little trinkets because the children love it. You know, it's a 5-cent little item from Oriental Trading Catalog, but in my district, the children act as if you're giving them gold doubloons. So we're very happy that the Positive Behavior Intervention Support is coming back to the district. It's a very good program and it works. I have seen it work really, really well. And again, you want the children to be good because you want them to just be good. But I like acknowledging. I like being able to acknowledge that, you know what, you were good this whole month. I'm so proud of you that now you're going to go to a pizza party or a movie party or an arts and crafts celebration. I find that to be really beneficial and a good thing. I really, really do. And then now my next question, because I kind of spent a little time on that one. Psych Mom 2014 asked me the question, she wants to know about buying supplies. Is it expected that I will spend so much money on supplies? Does my school provide anything? Also, does your husband ever complain about the money I spend on work? Okay, it is not expected by my district that I will go out and buy all the things that I buy. And if you're not familiar with what I'm talking about, a previous video I did, how to purchase classroom supplies, is in my videos. Go back and find that one. But during the summer vacation, I work really hard to monitor all the school supply sales. And I like to buy 1-subject notebooks. I like to buy 2-pocket folders, preferably with the 3-tab middle in the center. I like to buy composition books. I like to buy crayons. I buy some markers. I buy lots of pencil cap erasers. I buy pencils, tons and tons of pencils. And my district does not mandate that the teachers in my district go and do this. They don't. And the district does buy school supplies. But every year for like the last 10 years, our budget has been cut. And so instead of laying off teachers, the principals just keep slashing the school supply budget. So there have been years where the district by March is out of folders, out of glue sticks, out of crayons. Well, I have a stash that I purchased over the summer vacation that I can now pull out and use because, like a good little squirrel, I got all of my little nuts stored away for emergencies and for when I need them. Also, I like to have a uniform set of materials. So, I want the whole class to have a purple folder. That'll be the science folder. I want the whole class to have a red folder. That's going to be, the homework folder or the math folder. So this way I can literally say, okay guys, take out your science folders, and the whole class knows, oh, grab the purple one. So that's another reason why I do buy some of my supplies. As for my husband, yes, he complains all the time about the money I spend on my classroom, because when we first got together, he was like, I thought the whole purpose of having a job was to make money. And I said to him, well, not if you're a teacher, because I do. I spend an incredible amount of money and invest it back into my classroom, whether it's student supplies, whether it's furniture items, whether it's an easel, whether it's projector bulbs. I do. I spend a lot of money on my classroom. In fact, DonorsChoose.org supplied me with tables and chairs for 20 kids. I still need 3 more tables and chair sets. So I'm probably going to buy one whole set on my own and then try to get like the last 2 through DonorsChoose.org. I'm just waiting for that for a little bit. But yeah, I do. I spend a ton of money on my classroom, but I want to provide my students with the best possible environment they can have. I want my students to have the things that they need to have. And I know I'm getting a lot of replies saying, well, in our school district, the children buy this. And in our school district, the school buys this. And to that I say, you are so lucky, and I am so jealous. Our parents are very limited on monetary funds in Hamtramck. It's the poorest city in the state of Michigan. That's not me saying so, that's statistics saying so, that's the government saying so. And so our parents just don't have that money. For my own boys, for AJ, I think last year I dropped almost $50 on his school supplies for high school, and on Casey, I dropped a very similar amount of money on his school supplies for elementary. My parents just don't have that. And my parents, when they do buy school supplies, a lot of them are buying supplies from the dollar store. Dollar store school supplies are awful. The pencils, the leads are not centered. So when you sharpen the pencil, you get a wooden tip instead of a graphite tip. The dollar store crayons are almost pure wax. So when they color in lumpy chunks of colored wax as opposed to the smoothness of a Crayola crayon. So instead of having a classroom that where 10 kids are using dollar store items, I would rather just tell them, what? Keep these supplies at home for doing your homework, but here in class, you're going to use Crayola. You're going to use Dixon pencils or Ticonderoga or whatever quality materials I can buy for use in the classroom. And my husband, let's just say he doesn't see all the receipts for what I spend in the course of a year for my classroom. Yeah, what he doesn't know, shh, don't tell. All right, and my last question I'm going to do today is from Ian VBZ72. And the question was, what inspired you to become a teacher? And I have to say, when I was in high school, I thought I was going to be a lawyer. I love to argue. I love to debate. Also, every now and then, I've been known to carry around a soapbox and stand on top of that soapbox and start preaching. I get very passionate about things and causes that I really believe in. And so, yeah, all through like 11th and 12th grade, I thought for sure I was going to go and get my bachelor's degree and then go into law school. And then in 12th grade, went to Catholic school, and we did not have early dismissal. So by 12th grade, I had all my credits done already. And so I actually had 2 periods of like free time in 12th grade, but I couldn't leave the building. So I really didn't want to take a study hall. So I talked to the principal, said, or the counselor, what can I do instead of study hall? Because quite frankly, I just don't need it. I don't want to have 2 of them. So they had me go to the connected elementary, because the K through 12 was all in one building. And for the 1 period, I was volunteering in the kindergarten class. And for the 2nd period, I was volunteering in the 2nd grade classroom. And I loved it. I absolutely loved it. The teachers would have me help them put up their bulletin boards, which was fun. They would have me grade papers, which, if you're not a teacher, grading papers is so fun, and you're putting stickers and stamps all over them. And they would have me work one-on-one with the kids, practicing their sight words and their spelling words, reading to children. I loved everything about it. And by the end of 12th grade, all thoughts of being a lawyer were gone. I knew exactly what I was going to college for. I knew exactly what I was going to be with the rest of my life. I was going to be a teacher. So that was what inspired me to become a teacher, having 2 free periods senior year and volunteering in the lower elementary. The children were just so doggone cute, and everything was so fun that it was the deciding factor. So yeah, that's where I kind of came to become a teacher. So if you're someone right now that you're in high school and you don't really know what to do, or you don't know if you want to be a teacher, volunteer. Seriously, volunteer at a preschool during summer vacation, and see if working with children and being with children is something you really love and enjoy. You'll figure it out really fast. Just like I figured out my limitations really fast. During one of my college semesters, I was a parapro during the day. A preschool teacher was finishing up 2 more classes to get her master's degree. So 3 days a week for about 90 minutes, I was actually teaching the preschool class, because I was already like in my 4th year of getting my degree for teaching. I learned real quick, whoa, I never want to be a preschool teacher. I had 1 kid hanging on this leg, 1 kid hanging on this leg, kids holding each arm, sticky fingers everywhere, kids peeing their pants, kids crying. It's like, oh my God, no, I will never teach preschool. So yeah, it's very easy to figure out if you want to do this for a living. Volunteer. Volunteer for assorted grade levels, volunteer at a daycare center, and you will figure it out. And with that, I'm going to wrap up this video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please be sure to give it a thumbs up. If you want to hear from me in the future, click the subscribe button. I'll talk to you later.